Okay, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, October 7th here. I believe I have my mic on this time, so this is okay. And yes, it's the Robo Taxi week for Tesla, 10:10. Today is 10:07. So let's see what will happen in the markets ahead. So we're going to take a look here first at the SPY. And I'm just going to focus on the fib levels for a lot of these things right now, just because if there is going to be a retrace, I think it's just going to be back to fib levels and really nothing else. So with the SPY from the 2022 market high to the October 22 market low, we can see how these linear based fibs are working perfectly right now. And the SPY is on top of the 1.618. And that is 561. We'll just zoom in here a little bit. 561.48. So if there is a retrace, I think this is what you'll see. Just a back test to that 561 area, maybe a wick below or so, but this should hold because I think it's proof. Previous resistance and then a retest of even the 1.272, then a break back above, which was also a retest or a resistance before it broke back above, and now it's going to maybe continue higher. And I think that'll be at least a retrace back to 561.48 if that were to happen. So that is the number I'm really focusing on. And as long as price is on top of this 1.618, it's going to be just building a base to go higher to the next level, 647 and the 700 zone above, right? It's just breaking one resistance level at a time, and it's looking better and better. So let's go to the QQQ here. And QQQ, same situation here, really. So we can pull up a fib for around that same time period. So we'll do that here and here. And what we see here is it's holding a base of 472 because what was rejected at 504 up here, the 1.618, came back down to retest the 1.272. And now, essentially, that is 472.65. So that is, if prices were to retrace on the QQQ, I would expect it to go back into the 470s, the low 470s for that kind of a retrace, and possibly just build a base and go higher. So that's the target for QQQ if there were a retrace. But eventually, I see positive price action, and I want to see this 1.618 broken. And then once that is broken, then I can see 600s and above. And next is IWM. So I already have the fib on this one pulled up. And that is from the all-time high down to this low right here, October 23. And you can see that this 702 is still in the way. And that is the halfway fib between 786 and 618. So it's still in the way as a resistance, and it can't break above. And the 786 already got rejected, so it's not really too bullish yet. But once there's weekly candle closes that close on top of this 786, then that's when price will start to get really bullish. And I think it'll do what like Palantir and what a lot of other stocks have done and just kept going up. So these numbers right here really need to get broken for IWM, 219.80, 226.75 in order for IWM to get really bullish. But until then, it's just building a base on top of really the 618. So I think if you're looking for a retrace again, possibly 212.84, that could be the target for more consolidation into the future. But it looks really healthy overall. Nothing scary about it at all. So yeah, we'll just jump right into Tesla then, huh? So two kinds of fibs that I'm looking at. Resistance, 258.15. So on linear scale, log scale, resistance or support is 242.44. So those are the two different things I'm looking at. A log scale support and a linear scale resistance right there. But what I'm really seeing maybe is possible is going back to this log scale. I think what we'll see going into 1010 is going towards the 270s. That's what I think. And there's a lot of confluence in the 270s. As you can see right here, 272.79 is that halfway fib between the 786 and the 618. And if we go to my linear scale GAN here, we'll just look right here for this week. The top of that is really around 272, 273. The top of my arc is matching that log scale 702 perfectly. So this is why I think price will be a magnet. And also, I think it already held this angle as support. So my predictions is going to the 270s for this week, right? I don't think it's going to go lower. And if it did go lower, then that's just an opportunity, in my opinion, because it would just be a back test of that angle again. So either way, it's not bearish, right? Yeah, I mean, going up definitely is not bearish. Going down, it would just be a back test of support into maybe the 230s, right? So I don't see any negative scenario either way. I think both are great opportunities, especially if it can break above my arc here, above the 272, 273, then it can go higher. But basically, 242 needs to hold, and I think it already proved that it wants to, and 272, 79 needs to get broken as a resistance in order to challenge the 300s above. So one step at a time. But I think that it will get there, right? I just think a lot of signs are pointing in the direction that the upward continuation wants to happen for Tesla because of the Fibonacci, because of the GAN, because of even the Ichimoku, all that stuff. Yeah, so let's take a look at Upstart. I see a request there. So I'm gonna use the fibs on this one too, just to see what's really happening. And yeah, it was pretty obvious what happened on this week right here of August 26th, that it got rejected by the 382, and now it's just floating in the middle of a range. So now we'll put on the Ichimoku here just to see. And yeah, it's now can't even break out of the cloud right now. But what you saw was a breakout and a back test of the baseline and the bottom of the cloud. So I think if it keeps building a base around these levels here, it's eventually going to break the 382. So really what we're looking at is getting above the cloud and more importantly above 45.71. But once 45.71 breaks on a weekly candle close, then I think it's going to go to the 60s. Yeah, pretty much. It's going to go to where this candle is, like 60, 67, 72, like that zone right up there. And SOFI. How's SOFI doing today? It's down a little bit, 4 cents, but yeah, the fibs don't help us on SOFI. I already checked it out. So we're going to just look at the Ichimoku, and this is what I've been focusing on the most, is getting back above that cloud. And it did it on Friday. And because it did it on Friday, I'm bullish on it. So a back test of 820s is fine. Even in like the 18s, like 16, 17, 18, like that's fine too. But being on top of this is set up perfectly to continue higher now to the 9s up here where the previous candles are, and then possibly to the 10s up here. So this is looking more and more bullish. And as long as it stays on top of this, it's going to go higher. Can I do Palantir? Yeah. Palantir. How is Palantir looking? So Palantir is down a little bit pre-market, but that's not anything major, right? We can see just by using the fibs alone that what was a resistance of the 786 then turned into a support with the 786. But this is log scale. And then it went up to the 886, and now it's breaking above. And then when we check on linear scale here, that it is doing the same exact thing, right? It built the base on top of the 786 3 weeks in a row. Then it shot up to the 886. So I think the magnet for price is going to be $40, 50 cents, like that kind of zone. And if that is the target, then I think we'll see how price reacts once it gets there. If it has a hard time breaking through, then it might be a resistance. But if it can do what it did here and close many weekly candles above, then that's basically going to build a base to go to the all-time highs and beyond. So I'm just waiting to see how price reacts around that 40.54. in order to determine if it's going to go higher or not. And yeah, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA looks pretty good, right? Just the more recent fibs here is telling the story. And that is telling me that it kind of wants to gravitate higher. And it got that 618 fib back as support. So I'm looking at 121.63 as holding as support. And as long as that holds as support, I think it's going to build that base and go higher and higher. And the goal is to get above 130.05. Once it's above 130.05, I think it's going to go to the 140s, to the 150s, and beyond. So that is the line in the sand for me, 130.05. ABCL. So, yeah, this one's a falling knife. Let's see something here. We'll have to check out the negative fibs for this one. We'll go right here for this low. So yeah, it seems like it might want to keep going lower, right? Maybe even down to the negative $12. No. No, the negative fibs are not going to help here because it keeps on being like a falling knife. But basically, these are the kind of stocks I try to avoid because what we're seeing now is essentially it just keeps on making lower lows. And even this low is lower than this low, and it can't even get above this previous low. So we don't even need any indicators to really show us that it's really negative. And the Ichimoku does tell us that 263 is still resistance. So these are the type of stocks I avoid because it's just gambling. Like maybe this bottom will hold, maybe it won't. And I like extra confluence to have more of a certain idea of what's going to happen. And this is just a falling knife, so I cannot get behind that at all. Yeah, AVGO. And the market's going to open in 3 minutes for Broadcom here. So Broadcom looks pretty good, right? It's going to probably go into all-time highs pretty soon, especially when we do a fib right there, the most recent one. Yeah, it's back above. It closed. Actually, if you do the most recent fib, it closed its first weekly candle back above the 786, 173.04. It never did it before. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, like all these candles right here did not close above the 786, but we finally got one. So I think this is kind of proof that it really wants to go back up to all-time highs. And pre-market is down a little bit, so we're going to look for support around 173.04, right around that 786. And it could wick below to 168 again, sure. But I think as long as the week closes above 173.04 again, it's going to build that base to go higher into all-time highs, go to 200, 208, 220, and beyond. And yeah, I see a request for Enphase real quick. So yeah, Enphase is fine, right? I'm still building that base, and I have the linear scale chart here for Enphase. And that's basically telling me right here that it's backtesting the arc right here. So backtesting the arc is fine. And even going back down below to 102, maybe a little bit below where this angle is again. This is basically for the past months, it's just been building a base like on the angle and trying to flip the arc. So this is the bottoming process of something, right? And this looks great. I like how this is bottoming. I like how it's setting up for the future. So anything around current price down to 102, 101, I think that's a good target. And yeah, we'll do some CrowdStrike. So the market just opened right now, and we're going to just take a look here to see what CrowdStrike is doing. And we don't really need anything except if you drew a line like right where current price is, this is kind of where things broke down, right? It was a previous support zone right here. and then it broke down, and now it's like challenging that area. So I really want to see it get back above it. But more importantly, I think what we need to see is back above that baseline right up there around 300. So 300 is going to be the goal. And once it's back above 300, then I think it'll go much higher. But until then, just got to give it patience, got to have maybe weeks of patience before it gets back on top of that. But that's going to be the goal. 300 is the goal. Yeah, and how's HEMS looking this morning, huh? Yeah, HEMS, fantastic, 1898. Opened up above the baseline, and that's all I was looking for. And now this chart is looking better and better and better again, and it held that support perfectly. The log scale support that I mentioned last week, it was that angle, right? The angle held perfectly. Not even the 786 didn't even need to get touched. But this is how important market symmetry is, right? That previous angle right there was just obvious to me that it's going to hold. And sure enough, that was the support. And now then the news came out about the 600 getting added to that 600. So yeah, this is looking fabulous for price to go up. And yeah, I don't know if I'll get through all of these, but I'll do one more. I'll do square block. So square right here is just holding a base above the 62.16, and basically the 62.16 is trying to build a base, and this looks bullish to try to get above my arcs and get above this 382 in the future. But this is also the definition of building a base to go higher. And as long as that $62 holds, then this will eventually break through all the resistance and go higher. So it is getting more and more bullish as time goes on, but still has resistance above to overcome first. But just patience is the name of the game. And just do a quick brief overview of how things are going. Yeah, so in the beginning, I mentioned those fib levels for SPY, QQQ, and IWM. Just pay attention to those because those could be a possibility in the future. And yeah, everything is a little bit red, just a few green this morning. We got Google. Meta still wants to go. Yeah, it's above 600 now. Pretty obvious he wanted to go there. Tesla's going back down to maybe test the 242. We'll see if it gets there. But yeah, I think everything in the long term still bullish. Even this week, I think Tesla is going to go higher. So any kind of dip, in my opinion, is an opportunity there. So yeah, just pay attention.